y'all, Chef Chris here, the transitional food chef and coach and culinary herbalist. So today we are talking about pallet gardens. I haven't done a video all this week, so it's time for a video. Now the reason I'm talking about pallet gardens, of course, you know that is how I choose to garden. I really like it. I'm really big on being resourceful and using different resources that are around where they're little to no cost. And I love anything wood. Anything wood is just my love. But for this particular video, my best friend and her husband, they just end up making their own pallet garden, which looks so beautiful. If you want to see the pictures, it's in my stories. I also posted as well. But it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, and I'm so happy that they took the step to go ahead and try something for their family. So here are some cool tips for you if you want to figure out how to even do a herb pallet garden. All right, number one, you want to write down the herbs that you go to the store the most to purchase. When you are in the store and you are in the aisles, or if you go to a market, it doesn't matter, store or market, you want to write down the herbs that you find yourself purchasing a lot. That way you can kind of get a better idea of what to plant. Me, on the other hand, I just was like, I'm going to plant everything just because I'm a chef and I just love anything green possibly. And that was my logic. And when I went into the stores to purchase most of my starter plants, I was just like, ooh. I knew the benefits of everything, but I was like, I guess I just was happy. I think that kind of happens with anybody that may love plants or herbs. You just kind of go crazy and find reasons to go. That was me. So if you want to be a little bit more structured and organized, I suggest you get a pen and a piece of pad, a pen and paper, and you write down the herbs that you find yourself purchasing a lot of, or look through your recipes where herbs are in there the most. You know, you want to make sure that whatever you're planting, you'll be able to use it a lot. You don't want it to just sit there. So my number 2 herbs that I always use when I started palleting, herb palleting, it would be lavender and sage. I use those all the time, hands down. And I knew that I could start them off a little small, and then when I really started finding myself using them literally in every single thing that I did, I knew I had to move them from a smaller area and put them into the ground, because I needed a lot more space. I needed it to have room to grow and to have as many as I possibly could. So those are, if this is something that you use a lot, you may want to reconsider how you want to put it in the ground, or either you want to pallet it. Because remember, the herb pallet garden, when it's vertical, let's see, you have 2 columns, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have 5 rows. So your amount of space is limited. All right, so that is a couple of tips right there. Some things that you can garden, or some things you can plant if you're starting off. You can look into mint, basil, that's pretty good, thyme. I have oregano in mine as well. Rosemary. Now the rosemary is something else that I use a lot of, so I moved my rosemary into a larger pot, and now I have quite like 2 different pots of rosemaries. And what I'm going to do now is probably remove that rosemary, and I need a lot more space for that. And for me, I'm all about herbs, so I have lots of different herbs everywhere, and I'm getting some more herbs just because I like planting. So yeah, so these are some cool tips. You want to make sure you are getting herbs that you use, right? That you have intentions to use, or that you currently use now a lot. Another thing, you want to make sure that a lot of herbs don't need direct sunlight. You can really burn them. I burnt some of my herbs when I first started because of the positioning. I also showed you guys a video of my mishaps of the herbs because I didn't give it the burlap that I use enough pull. So that's something else to consider. The sunlight where you are positioning it, it doesn't need a lot of sun. A lot of these plants don't need a lot. The water, how you water them, is not as frequent as some of the herbs. And yeah, those are really the main things that you want to consider when placing your herb palette gardens together. So to recap, one, write down the things that you want, things that you use, or things that you think you want to use by going through your cookbooks. Two, you want to look at the positioning of your herb palette garden. All right, where is position? Three, you want to make sure you want to make sure that when you are planting it, you're spacing it out enough, right? So here's an example. Let's just say you want to use rosemary, right? You have enough space to put rosemary on one side and another side. You don't have to have different herbs in each space just because it's there. You can use that same herb and make it go all across the board, right? So that way you have enough if you just want to keep everything there, if you're not able to put everything in the ground. So I hope this was helpful to you. Like it, share it, and save it. This is a cool resource that you can use and come to later. All right, love and light, y'all.